Hey, everybody, welcome to Pit Stops to Podium, the Rev Partners podcast, where we talk to execs who have competed and won, taking their companies from high growth to high scale. My name is Brendan Tollison. I am the co-founder and CEO of Rev Partners, and I'm delighted to have with me today my friend Spencer Sutlive for this episode of Pit Stops to Podium. Welcome, Spencer.
Howdy. Spencer Sutlive, founder and CEO of Rugged Road Outdoors. Do you want me to tell a little bit about the business? Or
I think that'd be a great place to start. What is or who is Rugged Road?
Awesome. So Rugged Road is a cooler company that sells high performance coolers that are a third the weight of comparable coolers on the market. So everyone's familiar with Yeti, Arctic, Orca, that kind of thing. And we're able to hold ice just as long. We're comparably durable, but our cooler is actually a third the weight. So that was our flagship product. And that is what the business revolves around at this time.
It is a super cool product. And for any of our audience that enjoys being outdoors or just having a cold drink, whatever beverage of your choice, it's a good one to check out. And we'll get into more of the business side. But Spencer, we do have a tradition here at Pit Stops to Podium, and it's an opportunity for us to get to know our guest outside of work. So what are 3 fun facts, Spencer, that people should know about you outside of Rugged Road?
I'd say first and foremost, avid rock climber. It's something I'm very passionate about. We could talk about that all day, but for the sake of time and your audience, I will go to the next one.
Seems fitting for what you do. So that's a good hobby to have.
Yes. I also really enjoy uncomfortable situations, which is probably a weird fun fact. But for me, I like putting myself in hard situations, whether that's doing like Spartan races, things like that, doing public speaking. I'm not naturally very good at it. Just uncomfortable situations where I feel like I'll grow. That's something I really enjoy. And that's part of, Rugged Road, pursuing the path less traveled. So another fun fact about me. And then third, I'd say a bit of a serial entrepreneur.
So what does that mean? So how long you been doing this? I know you're not too old, but that doesn't mean you can't be an entrepreneur. So what have you been doing?
Yeah, so I'm 23 now, but my first legitimate business venture, I would say, was when I was 14. Started a t-shirt with my brothers. It was when the pocket tee craze was pretty big. We were in about 50 brick and mortar locations, but we had no idea what we were doing. We were losing money. But that was where I learned a lot about t-shirts, apparel, actually trying to run a business, operate a business. It was a phenomenal learning experience. So that would be kind of a high note there. I always did lemonade stands, things like that. I had a company called Gwinnett Tree Cycle where we recycled Christmas trees. That was kind of a smaller gig. Peachtree pressure washers, just all kinds of oddball stuff throughout high school. Sold t-shirts to fraternities, Greek life, different high schools. So just always trying to do something, middle school, high school, make a buck, learn some business. And then, senior year of high school, I ended up starting Rugged Road. So tried and true since then.
That is not a normal path, and it doesn't sound like you enjoy idle time, and it sounds like you get quite a bit of grit. So it definitely speaks to the uncomfortable situations as well, being an entrepreneur at that age and seeing opportunity and going for it. But I think it's a good segue, Spencer, into the big idea in light of your experience as an entrepreneur. And it's the big idea we want to talk about today is really around the who and not the how. And so before we kind of get into what that means in the context of Rugged Road, what does that mean in terms of the who, not the how?
Yeah, so a simple way to put it, for our readers who are unfamiliar with this concept, Who Not How was developed by a man named Dan Sullivan, who's a serial entrepreneur coach. He is a CEO coach, and he's really good at taking big concepts and simplifying them down to make them very understandable, very rememberable, and very easy to apply to your life. So Who Not How really takes the idea of finding the right person for the job instead of being too focused with how the job is going to be done, which, I can expand a little further as we roll through some of these.
I think that's a good foundation as we think about that concept, and let's apply it into the Rugged Road context. And so the first topic that I want to look at is this idea of breaking our way of thinking. So what does that mean for you as you're building Rugged Road in your lens?
Yeah, awesome. So kind of interweaving it between Rugged Road and Who Not How concepts with Dan Sullivan. Traditionally in culture, we're taught when you identify a problem, you're supposed to figure out how it's done, right? And his whole concept of Who Not How talks about identifying the right person, the right who to accomplish said task, said goal. And sometimes that's going to be you. sometimes that's going to be other people you come across in your life. And, it really breaks the mold there because that's not how we're traditionally taught to do things. And for Rugged Road, that has just been an absolute game changer for me. For the first couple of years, I was trying to be the who for everything we were doing. I was trying to do all of our digital marketing. I was trying to do all of our infographics. I was trying to do, all of our logistics. I was trying to do everything, which every entrepreneur is going to have to do that at some point. So I'm not doing that. You can't just immediately start hiring people. But what you can do is identify what you're best at naturally, which for me, that's working with products, that's selling the brand, that's presenting it to other people, and that's interacting with customers. And you can identify those core areas and spend most of your time there. And then you can sell people on your vision and help them assist you in little ways in other areas. So an example for me in the past few years would be, I've found someone to help me with, infographics, marketing, things like that, that used to just take up so much time. And now I'm getting that time back and I'm pouring it into other parts of the business. And through applying this principle, I've gotten farther in the past year of the business than I did in the first 4. So that's why I really wanted to share it today.
Yeah, I love that principle. And it's, it goes on that whole concept of jack of all trades, but master of none. And I think the hard part, especially for an entrepreneur, when it's your idea and you're building, is how do you relinquish control? And that's not an easy thing to convince somebody in your seat to say, hey, there are actually better people at that. And you have to kind of give that ownership away to someone else and to take that vision that you have and ultimately run with that. So I'm sure that's not an easy thing, but to your point, I think you've learned the humility of, finding the right people for the right seat to ultimately help you drive the business forward.
Absolutely. And there's a lot of trust in it, to what you're talking about, just trusting that people will do a good job and just letting go. And that was really hard for me for a while because I was like, I'll do it better. But if you really allow the right who to step in, then they can excel and you'll be blown away by what they can do. I mean, it really can be emotional watching what other people will do once they buy into your vision and they start working under your team, which I'm sure you can relate to that as well with Rev Partners.
Yeah, certainly. And one of the big things that we learn is one of our sayings is don't do it alone. And you need to have people with you if you have a big vision. It's probably a good segue into kind of the next topic, which is, okay, you have the right person in the right seat. What's the next thing as you think about this concept?
Yeah. So for me, it's once you really start to break down this who, not how concept, start to dream big. And it sounds simple. You always hear that, reach for the stars, but truly dreaming big, knowing that you can achieve set goals. It's not like you're daydreaming. Like for me with Rugged Road, it's a pretty ambitious goal as a 20-year-old at the time to think I'm going to take on $5 billion Yeti or a couple $100 million Arctic. But applying these principles, I was able to dream big and know like, hey, it's not going to be an easy road. It's going to be a rugged road, but we can compete in this space. And I, to this day, fully believe that with the right product and the right who's, we can actually achieve that goal. So for me, just dreaming big. And I think everyone should be able to do that.
Yeah, it's I think it's Jim Collins that talks about the BHAG, which is the big, hairy, audacious goal. And it provides, clarity for the team. And then it's a rally cry momentum. If everyone understands, okay, what are we really trying to accomplish? And now that I know exactly what I'm supposed to do, it allows all of us to row in that same direction to, ultimately take the hill for whatever that said dream is for the organization. And I think that the challenge to what you're describing too is, when you're bringing on these who's, it's no longer you necessarily that's the only one doing it. And so it gets back to your concept of trust is like, hey, I'm going to cast this big vision. I'm going to cast this dream. And now I need you guys to really help me, come alongside me to take me where I never could do by myself.
No, exactly. Which I think that also kind of segues, not to jump around too much, but into topic 3 of clarity.
Yeah.
And, we could have done these a little bit better in order here, but when you're thinking of dreaming big, then you identify what are your exact goals to get to that overarching big goal. Who are the who's to help you get there? And then what is the, agenda that you're going to give them? What is the goal when you're talking to these who's? Like, how narrowed down are you going to get with that? And that clarity is going to help you attack those goals in a much stronger way. And so for me, that's also, one of the most important parts of this whole concept, like knowing truly what you want, which, for me, for years, I'm like, I want to be this great cooler company, but how do I want to get there? And what are the steps along the way to get there? And that clarity really helps. And as you guys know, when I first met, you and Matt, y'all were all over that. You're saying, okay, you're trying to get over here, but first we got to get here. And what are the steps in between that? And that clarity in giving just that structure to whatever who you bring in the equation, it will really help them. And it'll also attract more who's. Like the more I've defined my clarity, the more people have been attracted to the idea because they've said to me, hey, this guy knows where he wants to go and we want to help him get there. So I think clarity is also just so important.
I think the other thing that it provides is focus. And so it allows you, it informs, what the tactics, what the strategies are. So if you not only have clarity where you want to go, how do you get there? That's kind of what I'm thinking about in terms of focus. So that informs, so it's just kind of a snowball effect. If you have that understanding of where you want to go, how do I get there? And then what's required to do it, which is really important. This is off script, but if you don't mind me asking, what is that BHAG goal for Rugged Road?
The what goal?
Your big, hairy, audacious goal when you talk about our dream. What is the dream for Rugged Road?
My dream for Rugged Road is to be known as a household brand and to really be known as the superior cooler on the premium cooler market. And I want people to look at us kind of like right now, if you look at Arctic, Grizzly, Lit, Orca, yada, 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 you say, okay, that's a Yeti comparable cooler. I want people to be able to look at Rugged Road and say, hey, anything else is subpar compared to them. So that's my big audacious goal, is to grab not only that market share, but that mind share.
I love it. Well, I hope this is a small step to getting you there with our audience. And but hey, Spencer, I really do appreciate you walking us through this framework of the who, not the how. It's a really powerful framework to help provide not only the clarity on where you're going with that dream, but ultimately make sure you have the right people in the right seats to drive that strategy and get you where you want to go. Spencer, if our audience, what are some practical tips that are not tips, but next steps they can take to engage with both you and with Rugged Road?
For me, social media is really big for us. We love sharing the cooler, things like that. So, anyone check out Rugged Road Outdoors on Instagram or Facebook, and then also just our website. It's fun to interact. There's a lot of interactive things on the website where people can really see, cooler floats upright, the ice performance, demonstrations of the weight. And there's some really fun things for people to check out there. So I always enjoy pointing people back to that.
All right. What I heard is go buy a cooler at Rugged Road. And you guys have a great summer/fall, depending on when this podcast comes out. But Spencer, hey, really appreciate the time and the opportunity to connect with you and to learn a little bit more about this framework and ultimately the Rugged Road story.
Awesome. I appreciate you having me on here.
All right. Talk to you later.